Yes, not so basic globe. Yeah. So this is the good ride review of the not so basic from Yes, the Yes Basic Globe. And I rode this with my trusty old Adidas Tactical ADVs. I rode this with Union Strata and my good old Union Super Pros. No, they're not for sale yet, readers. They're mine. They're mine. And to give you a quick summary of this board, it's basically the Yes Basic souped up like the Basic Decade with setback inserts, but it's got a different top sheet, slightly different materials. It's not that ultralight, super poppy ride that it was before, but it's got a little more dampness and a little more durability and that same great versatility. It's the kind of board, if you can only afford one board, you like that twin thing, but you also want to set it back far in powder and get some more directional, slightly surfy kind of float, then you have the Yes, not so basic globe. Now, check out the flex here. It's kind of medium-ish, but the good thing is it's different on snow. The rocker and the tip and tail make this very easy to butter, even for kind of non-freestyle-y guys like me who still like to try, even though we're old and broken. It really butters well, and it's got good pop, but man, the pop from the Basic Decade is just so more lively and poppy. I was gonna bring it today, but I have the 55 and my Basic Decade's the 58, and when riding my Basic Decade in 55 and then getting the 58, it's such a difference that I really didn't feel like it was proper to like straight up compare it. I can go by, I've ridden the Basic Decade a shit ton, so I can kind of just go with my muscle memory and compare it to this. This is just damper. It's got that less lively feel underfoot, but this still pops pretty well. It's more like a typical Yes board, where that Basic Decade is kind of in its own world there in terms of pop and liveliness, but I'd rather pick up speed on this. So the camber profile, check the on the table review, same kind of thing like the Yes. It's like a mellow camber going past the bindings to a very mellow rocker, and you can see it doesn't rocker up too high, so you get a little bit of that feel of, you know, you don't feel like you're on a tiny board on groomers and hard pack. And in softer snow, you feel more and more of this edge as it engages. It's very catch-free. It's not as loose as hybrid rocker or rocker boards, but it's got that stability of camber. But then the bonus is it doesn't catch like camber. The negative is it doesn't spring out of a turn. You don't feel that super bow of camber springing you in and out, but you got a lot more spring than a flat to rocker board. You know, it's very easy to one foot. It's very easy to flat base. It's very easy. It's just an overall stable ride that has a consistent feel in all conditions. And that's one of the things that I love about these boards from Yes. You just kind of always know what you're getting into, from hard snow to soft snow. It just has that same personality and that same consistency, which is huge, you know. And then, you know, as far as, you know, sizing goes, I always feel like I'm kind of in between this 55 and the 58. I love the 55 for days like today when you're out riding groomers and you want to play maybe a little bit in the park, maybe go, you know, hit the pipe, or you know, just go around the mountain riding switch and regular, like kind of like what I do. I love the 55. The 58 though just feels like a better all-around like daily driver, especially for those powder days. It's fun to be on the 58 and to have that, you know, that 3 centimeters of length, a little bit extra width, just a touch. But millimeters matter in snowboarding more than you would think. Edge hold. This thing grabs snow well without, in hard stuff, without getting too weird in the soft stuff. Like today I was out on perfect groomers, and you can just see this disrupted side cut. They call it underbite technology, and it's a little indention, and it just gives you more grip. Sometimes it can feel a touch catchy in certain situations if you get off your game, but not really. It seems like each year it might have just been slightly mellowed out, and this disruption is almost there, like with like full mag, because you know, you combine this hybrid camber. This thing grips kind of about where the camber ends, and you know, and so you've got that pressure from the camber ending there. Then you've got that little, you know, disruption. It really grips well. If you see a lot of hard snow to icy snow, this is good. It's not quite as good as full mag, but it's up there. And I love that because you just know you can ride no matter what the conditions are, and it's got that good grip. Now, turn initiation, this is super fast. I could just, you know, the 58's a little slower, but it's still really fast and really lively. Now, the turning experience, again, you're not getting a ton of camber here. It's a nice balance between being catch-free, being playful, being buttery, giving you some extra float and powder, especially with those setback inserts. And then, you know, but it also gives you a little more spring out of the turn than flat to rocker. You can feel the camber engaging, and it gives you a little spring out of the turn. It's not exceptional. It's not a board you get if you really want to lay out hard carves. But look, the combination of the edge hold, along with a little bit of camber, lets you carve in just about all conditions. You can carve in hard snow with this more than you can with other boards without that disruptive side cut. So as it gets harder, the carving gets a little better, but you know, it's not the kind of board you get for carving. If you want to carve, probably better to get like the Ghost, you know, because that's modern camber, and that has setback inserts this year too. It's a lot wider though, and it'll give you a lot more drive out of the turn. So it's kind of a toss-up. You know, speed. Last year's basic decade had a fast base, had good glide to it, but as you picked up speed, that ultralight tech kind of got a little chattery. This has a little more dampness. You know, I didn't get to do an A/B test on the bases, but this base had good glide to it, and felt like it kept its speed very well. It's not the fastest base in the world, but it's on the upper tier of base glide, and I really like that. As far as like bombing, yeah, it's not your ultimate super bomber. You're gonna get more out of like the pick your line or something like that. But for what this is, you know, this is all mountain. It kind of does a little bit of everything. And so you can bomb with this. It's just not the ultra super mega damp bomber. It's got mountain speed. It's got mountain speed. Let's just put it that way. Uneven terrain, this is amazing. It's got this kind of like rubbery dampness that when I went through like uneven snow, I could weave in and out of bumps really well because of the fast turn initiation. It's kind of like an older school twin type of profile. It's not that like small shifted volume twin. So it fits in between bumps and uneven snow really well. But then on top of that, it's got this damp feel. So if you're powering over stuff it can kind of like bend with it a little bit, and you know, it can handle some tracked out cats and such, and it's fun. I think it's a great resort snowboard that you can ride all day Saturday. You know, the probably most crowded day of any resort. You know, switch, this is a true twin, set up, centered. I love it. I can take it either direction really well. I haven't ridden a lot of like twins like this lately. Everybody seems to be sending these directional boards. So it was really fun to get out and just ride switch and just, you know, just make some good turns. And I love these twins because you can just, it's so between the feet. It's so symmetrical. You can lean back on a carve if you want. You can drive off your front foot. You can ride perfectly centered. You can really play around, and it goes both ways really well. The only thing that the only board I like better are asymmetrical twins, like the Greats. But you know, the Greats, you can't really set back and get that directional float and powder like you can with, you know, this not so basic Globe. You know, and that brings up powder. I didn't have this board in powder. However, I've had this shape in powder lots of times. And I've had, you know, I've had all kinds of Yes boards, and I had the basic Decade in a little bit of powder. And when you engage those setback inserts, it's great. Here's the thing though, with this board, just like the basic Decade, you know, you need full-sized discs. Do not get mini discs. You need a disc that fits with this slam back inserts, because most of the insert pack is like this, right? And then you have one that's down here, an extra pair, and you need a full-size disc for that. Otherwise you're shit out of luck and you can't use the setback inserts. And when you use those setback inserts, it's pretty good. It's on the upper tier of most all mountain boards and kind of acts like some free ride boards. It's not amazing. I mean, there are some amazing powder boards these days, like, you know, in comparison to like the Yes Optimistic, the Yes Hybrid, the Y, the pick your line, they all float way better. They're better at directional float. But when you compare this to most all mountain boards, yeah, this is really good. And you can also center it up, and it rides really well for a true twin in powder too. It's got, you know, that early rise and everything. It's got some good float. Check out the on the table review to kind of see the camber profile and the setback on board. But you know, as far as park goes, you know, you're not looking at Mr. Park here. But I will say, this is the kind of board I want to go hit kickers with. This is the kind of board I want to ride pipe with when, you know, it's a nice, soft, forgiving spring pipe day, or even a hard, icy pipe day where your friend goes, let's go through it, and you're just like, yeah, all right, I'll go through it. I'm not going to push it too hard. Just carve the walls. This is great for that. And you know, you can just kind of hit everything any direction. You can center this up like with the Super Pros I have now. Now again, don't get the Super Pros with this. Don't get the Union Stratas with this. You know, if you're thinking Union, get the Union Atlas. Get the Union Force. Those have full-size discs. Get the Now bindings. Any Now binding has a full-size disc. The Jones bindings has a full-size disc. Burton bindings have a full-size disc. Those work with these. Don't get anything mini disc. I can't stress that enough. You won't be able to utilize the all mountain aspect of this board. So jibs, yeah, you can jib with this. I didn't, but you can. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's a little on the, you know, little more medium. You know, we here at the Good Ride like a softer flex, more playful flex in the park. But overall, look, I can't say enough great things about this Globe. It's kind of an older shape now in terms of Yes's line. They've really gone to those kind of more like wider, volume shifted kind of boards, but this still just ticks so many boxes for that person looking for a one board quiver that wants to do a little bit of everything. This is the Globe, and I think I like this actually a little better than the basic Decade. Not in terms of pop, but just in terms of dampness and durability. That top sheet, I was getting some chips in it, and it was starting to, you know, starting to make me wonder how long this thing's gonna last. It's an amazing board. I might just keep it anyways, but this is such a fun board. This is such a playful mountain freestyle ride that can set back and give you a little bit of directional float. It's all you can ask for a one board quiver.